to the first in the series. We're right at the beginning and we're going to look at how we got here, where we got to where we are today. So to understand how we got here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back to the beginning, and if we can consider for a moment that our bodies are a bucket. So if you consider from our feet to our head, we're a bucket. And what we choose to do, sometimes not always a choice, is our bucket gets filled with numbers of things that we're exposed to in our daily lives. However, if that bucket gets too full, like any bucket, it overflows and something breaks. So let's have a look at your bucket and think about how full it is and how close we are to overflowing. So the first thing that we're often exposed to in our day-to-day lives are environmental toxins. Okay, so these are toxic to our body and our body has to deal with them. Our body's designed to deal with a number of toxic supplements. It only really becomes a problem when there's too many of them. So what kind of environmental toxins are we exposed to? Well, let's have a look. There's pollution from cars, from trucks, from dust on the road, tyres, processing plants, the billowing smoke that comes out of processing plants. What else is there? There's lead and mercury, any heavy metals that we're exposed to in our lives. We've got mercury in our teeth, there's lead in paint. There's also a lot of heavy metals and chlorine, for example, in our waterways. So they're some environmental toxins. Then we've got chlorine in our water, but also in our pool. So what about every time we go swimming? The skin on our body is very absorbent and can absorb the chlorine through our system. And that's fine, but we need to understand that the body has to eliminate these things. It's got to make them safe and excrete them. That's the environment. What about all the toxins that you're exposed to in the home? Now there's all the cleaning chemicals that we use. There's bleach, there's Jif, there's surface sprays, dishwashing liquid, washing powder. That's just a few that I can think of. What else? What about hairspray, makeup, shampoo and conditioner, perfume? All of these things that we choose to buy and use in our daily lives are full of toxins. It doesn't seem to matter how much you pay for them. Often the most expensive perfumes, in fact, the most expensive perfume on the market is one of the worst ones for you. So again, toxins, we've got to deal with them and the body has to excrete them somehow, in some way. Then the next thing we've got, food. Now you're going, well, food's not a toxin, we need that to live. Well, food has changed so much in the last 100 years. It's barely recognisable than what it used to be. There's colours, there's flavours, there's preservatives. All of these things we add to our foods to make them look better, taste better, last longer. They're not naturally found in food and our body has to deal with them. They've got to eliminate and deal with all of these toxins. Then we've got genetically modified food. Now one of the problems with genetically modified food is that they're designed to withstand high levels of pesticide spray for them to flourish. So, it sounds good in theory, we're developing these seeds that we can plant and grow crops that will survive being sprayed by pesticides that keeps the bugs away. But by doing that, there's a couple of issues here. We're changing that product at a molecular level. It doesn't recognise, it's not recognisable as a potato in the way that it should have been. And that's only one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is it's then going to survive the toxic sprays that are sprayed on it by the farmers to keep the pests away. So that's a high exposure to toxins right there, just in genetically modified food. I know that we don't always consider that food, but I'm considering food anything you put in your body. But what about alcohol? Alcohol is a toxin if we consume large amounts of it. the body has to actually deal with that, and we all know what it's like to have a hangover, so we can't deny that it's a toxin. It's not very nice the next day. And drugs, over-the-counter prescription drugs. A lot of people take Panadol, a Nurofen, just on a daily basis, antacid medication. These are things they can just buy over the counter and aren't regulated. The body has to actually deal with those and get rid of them to make it safe for you. So do ask yourself, do we really need them? And then the final one is stress. Now, we've got a toxic environment, we've got toxins at the home, we've got toxins in our food, and you're going to say, well, stress isn't a toxin. No, but it's a toxin to the body in that you're putting stress on your body, and this is what often fills our bucket to overflowing. It's this one thing that we're exposed to every day. And these are often things that we can't change immediately. You know, it could be grief. You know, someone very dear to you has passed and that's causing you a great deal of stress. You've just got to work through that. That's not something you can control. You might have a stressful home life with rebellious teenagers or trouble in a relationship. We can work towards addressing these stressors, but we can't eliminate them immediately. So they often contribute a lot to our bucket being overflowing. So what's this got to do with your gut, I hear you say? Okay, well, when your bucket overflows, then something is bound to break. Right? So for us, my clients and me, it's our digestive system that suffers. For other people, it can be their heart, it can cause kidney issues, lung issues. You know, we all have a different weakness in our bodies. There's something that is not as strong for us as it is for others, and everybody's different in this way. So it's digestive system for us, and when the body's getting busy, getting rid of all these toxins, it really doesn't have the ability to deal with the stress levels as well. It can't do everything. It's very well designed and very clever at looking after us, but everything has a tipping point, so we have to look after ourselves. So the gut and anxiety, so just to go back to the gut again, the gut and anxiety is inexplicably linked. So we can't actually fix the gut without fixing your anxiety. So there's one of the things that we say quite often is that you shouldn't eat just before you go into an anxious or stressful situation. The reason is that your body can't digest food if it's busy being stressed and alert and ready for action. So we need to be aware of what's going on and come up with ways that we can deal with this. So what can I do? Okay, so what can you do to help your body deal with stress? Well, there's lots of tools that we can use to overcome those. And I can find public speaking sometimes can be a little bit stressful, so I have tools that I use to settle myself down before I do something. I don't eat before a public speaking event, I do afterwards. What else can we do? We can't actually control, as we discussed before, all those stressful situations, but we can control our exposure to some of these toxins to help reduce the load on the body so that it can better deal with what else is going on in our lives. Environmental toxins. We can't, unless you're willing to go and move into, you know, an island somewhere that's completely beautified and nothing bad's ever touched it, you're always going to have some environmental toxins that you're exposed to. You can't fix everything, but you can be aware of the water you're drinking. Is it filtered water? Is it clean and filtered and good for you? Are you swimming in a chlorinated pool? What about a salt pool? Are you running in the city? If you're doing exercise, are you running through pollution in the city, or are you running in a park where the air's cleaner? So there's a couple of things you can do there. The home is a big one. Now, there's a lot of products out there that are actually very low in chemicals, and they're better for the environment and they're better for you. So I'm not saying go and throw out everything that you've got in your cupboard and start again. That would be ideal, but it's wasteful. So how about whenever you run out of something, like Jif for example, and you put it on the list, on your shopping list, then next time you go shopping, replace that with an environmentally friendly, chemical-free product. Your body will thank you for it, and your house will thank you for it as well. They're actually just as good as all the other products. Toothpaste, hairspray, shampoo, conditioner, makeup, dishwashing powder, dishwashing liquid. Change these things. Just one thing a week will make a huge difference. Same with food. Okay, if you do not understand the ingredients in that product, then I suggest you don't eat it. If it's got letters and numbers and words you can't pronounce, it is not real food. If it cannot be found in nature, it is not good for you. So again, try and reduce every time you go shopping. Look at, do I really need that packet? Do I really need to eat that food? Make small changes, one thing a week. So that's what you can do. So I say go forth and make these little changes. I've done it and I certainly feel better for it. And then next week, we're going to talk about how to love your liver. So we'll be moving on from your body being your bucket, and then we're going to look at how the gut and the liver interact and how that works to look after you better. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next week.